So we had this report by Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk about the NFL is considering playing games on Saturdays and Sundays in the event that there is no college football season. The NFL just looking to take advantage of every market inefficiency it possibly can, and that's how you become an apex predator and the most valuable sports league in North American sports. Now, I think it's interesting because I don't think the SEC is going to let that happen, okay? I don't think the SEC is going to let that happen because they don't have to sit by and just let it go. They can say we'll play our 9 conference games, have our SEC championship game, and be fine with that. Now, Greg Sankey, who is the commissioner of the SEC, went on a couple of radio shows last week to say, we're willing to do it. We don't want to do it, though. We would much rather see the Pac-12 play football. We would much rather see the Big Ten play football. But they acknowledge, one, Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has dug his heels in and said, hey, I don't think we're going to have sports or concerts in California for the rest of the year. The mayor of Los Angeles has said, no, I don't think we're going to do it either. Right? And you got USC, which is the name brand on the West Coast. UCLA also in LA, right? You have Oregon, but if there's no league to play in, they're not going to be able to play, right? Now you got 130 FBS teams across 10 conferences. They ain't all going to see eye to eye. They never have, right? Even when we come to adopting new rules, they don't always agree, which is why they end up punting on so many of these things that might change up college football. But the SEC is the most dominant college football league. And the SEC frequently puts more guys into the NFL draft than any other league. And the SEC continues to lord over these things that are the BCS and college football playoff and all the ways in which we've come up with ways to distinguish national championships the last 20 years. It's been the SEC and then everybody else. However, I think one of the reasons why you would want to play your season in the fall, particularly get it in before New Year's, is the draft. Your players want to get to the NFL, more so than I think many others, because it ain't like picking Alabama over Michigan you're doing because of academic pursuits. You know, it ain't like you chose to go to Auburn over Notre Dame for academic pursuits. You went there because Derek Brown is a first-round draft pick. You went there because Tua Tagovailoa, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs are first-round draft picks. That's why you're there. If you can come out and go make millions of dollars playing the same sport that you don't get paid anything to play, you're going to do it. So if you have to choose between playing for Alabama in February, when the NFL scouting combine might be going on, or going to the NFL scouting combine, guess what you're probably going to do? Probably going to go to the NFL scouting combine, might even sit out the season. Because if you're an expected high draft pick, it does you no good to play. Unless you love to play, and if you love to play, that's great. Make that decision. I just don't think that a bunch of kids would. I think that a bunch of kids would choose their futures over playing football in the spring to make us all feel better, right? Say nothing of how weird it will be. I'm going to be here for it, right? Because I love sports. And we're all just glomming up and gobbling up all the sports we can get. Like UFC 249 is going to happen on Saturday, and I made the decision over the weekend, I'm going to buy it and watch it, right? Because Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson and championships. Dominic Cruz versus Henry Cejudo and championships. And NASCAR said, we're going to run races. We're going to have 4 in 11 days, right? We're going to have the Coca-Cola 600. And as we continue to move into the summer and flu season, as we know it, gives way to hot, humid, and Lord, please, no tornadoes. We're going to look at this and be like, we're fine. Now, will we be fine when winter comes back around? That's open to question. But I think the SEC, which is shown with its governors, that it is going to be pro-business and not necessarily worry about what the fallout might be. Like Georgia picked up 1,000 new cases inside of 24 hours after basically reopening the state of Georgia. They have decided we're going to do this. We're going to see how this plays. Florida has decided, hey, not only can you have sporting events in the state of Florida, you can fill 25% of your capacity and have fans. Wow. What a turn of events from 6 weeks ago. You have the NBA, who was going to lose at least $500 million, is losing even more because, pandemic. Like Daryl Morey thought we forgot, but Daryl Morey, I'm going to count your half bill toward whatever it is the NBA lost for you sending a tweet, because it matters. It matters because Joe Lacob and Peter Guber bought the Golden State Warriors in 2020 for $450 million. And that was the largest sale of a North American sports franchise at the time, right? We've since seen Steve Ballmer shell out billions for the Clippers, right? That's the kind of money we're dealing with on the pro sports level. What do you think we're dealing with at the SEC, where they dole out $44 million to member institutions annually, when everybody needs money just to keep themselves afloat, not because they're getting greedy, but to make sure their football programs and their Olympic sports can still function? Like the Big Ten might actually try to put on a season, and I could see them trying to do that without, say, Rutgers or perhaps even Maryland. Places that are really in the throes of this thing still, where we've seen these large hotspots affected, right? Michigan, Detroit wasn't going so well, but I doggone guarantee you that if the Big Ten says they're going to play football, Jim Harbaugh ain't going to sit it out. And neither is his athletic director. Ohio State going to play and having a chance to win a national championship is good for the Big Ten, because that money still gets split, right? They don't give the lion's share to the winner. So if the Big Ten goes and plays and Rutgers can't play, Rutgers going to be like, thank you, we'll take whatever we can get, because $38 million is still a lot of money when we're just trying to, one, be able to field a football program. And by the way, Greg Schiano has Rutgers inside the top 20 in recruiting already. Just took Sean Gleason from Oklahoma State. I should say, well, Sean Gleason kind of got pushed out, but Sean Gleason is the offensive coordinator at Rutgers now. So we'll just leave it there. Went back home. Was coach at Princeton, went Stillwater, went back home. All right. All that to say, I don't think that the SEC is going to sit around and let the NFL eat up market share in 2020. Doesn't matter anymore whether or not I agree with it, right? Because I don't get to make that decision like you don't get to make that decision, right? All that matters now is who is going to try and perhaps convince kids to put themselves in harm's way without adequate testing, because that's the other thing. Without assurances to parents that I'm going to be able to keep your baby safe, and say, no, you have to go and play football for the good of all of us. Yeah, but I had put myself at risk for this? Tell me why. You're not even paying me for this. That's going to be an interesting discussion. I can't wait to see how the Lincoln Rileys and the Greg Sankeys and the Bob Bowlesby sidestep that one. Because while we have had universities announcing we're going to have kids on campus in the fall, you know what we haven't seen? We're going to be able to test all the kids in the fall, let alone the athletic programs. And wouldn't it be such a giving up the entire game if you had ample tests for your football team and not enough tests for your student body population? Yo, say it with me. Lawsuit. Say it with me. Class action. Nobody wants to be sued, even as that is America's pastime.